Hey friends, welcome back. Before we really get into the meat of this course, I just wanted to bring up some of my favorite products that will prove useful over the tenure of the course. And then at the end of this video, we're also going to get into some hand and wrist assessment to see how healthy the muscles are in your hands and wrists. So first, things that you can do to release. This is Arm Aid. You can roll out your forearms. It's lovely, it's cumbersome. Amazon has something that's similar that has a little bit of a smaller footprint that I'll put a link to at the bottom of this video post in the description. This is hands down, no pun intended, my favorite. It's a trigger point release for the hands. People tend to love or hate this because it does squeeze pretty hard and you can't really adjust it. It has 5, 10, or 15-minute settings. There is a heat function. Yeah, when I do that thing like at least once a week, it actually releases a muscle in my back. A couple other things. This little guy, super inexpensive. You can roll. You can also roll out each finger. I always tell clients it's a nice thing just to have nearby to the computer. This is also really inexpensive and it's similar. You can kind of roll it anywhere. Okay, so those are the release things. For strength building, there is a kit I would recommend. So here we have flexors. You can also start to work individual finger lines. This works your wrist, like so. I do this in different angles as well, and it hits different shoulder muscles while I do it. And I will cover these in the course kind of when it seems like they're appropriate for which fascial chains. And then another bit of grip is rotational muscles, both rotation as far as this goes and rotation as far as this goes. TheraBand makes these, so you can strengthen this. To be honest, out of all of these products, this is the most underwhelming that I don't know that I would invest in again per se. They really advertise it for tennis elbow, which is why I purchased it. You can also do more of the traditional weightlifting things where you've got like a crank and you're just rolling up a weight. You could probably rig something like that up. I will also post a link to something that is on my Amazon list for that, but I haven't actually purchased it yet. Okay, we are going to get into assessing the different muscles of the wrist, and this is something that I would encourage you, if you're working this entire course, to come back to periodically and see if it gets better and what exercises or what fascial chains seem to be your special places. Here we go. Two other products I just spaced out on. One is Voodoo Floss. You can wrap this around and it kind of shrink wraps your forearms. It's kind of like if you've ever done a relaxation class where you tense everything up and then you let it go, or like the concept of a thunder shirt for a pet. Compression can equal relaxation. And then another, this is a total game changer. You could also do this with just a rubber band, but it is nice to have the different fingers secured for expansion as well as extension of the wrist. So again, I'll post links to all of these and these will get referenced back to in later videos. Okay, assessing the health of your joints and the range of motion. One, if you just take and kind of make a little circle both directions with your wrist. I would also encourage you as we're doing this to make notes of which things seem off in which hands. And you're basically trying to look at which numbers, so like here I have a really tough time if this was a clock hitting those outer numbers. Same thing this direction, my pinky wants to lift. And the fact that my whole arm wants to rotate instead of just securing the joint and doing a range of motion of the wrist. As I do that, I can feel my jaw tightening and my neck tightening. We'll get into these things as we go along of the different places of compensation. So that's one thing, is range of motion of the wrist in a circular fashion. Next, if we're just looking at your grip strength, so you want to almost see these two muscles popping out. You're going to try to pry those fingers apart. Again, noticing if you're tensing someplace else, notice if your breath starts to hold, then we would consider that to be not necessarily the most structurally sound. Another one here would be wrist flexion and extension. So I'm going to press down and kind of resist myself, see if that feels difficult or if it feels foreign. Here, I'm going to feel that. I feel, again, tension up in there. This side, and then extension. So that was at the wrist. Now we're going to look at fingers. We're going to kind of, just for simplicity's sake, look at this joint, but you could even kind of look at your fingertips. That's the kind of thing where if you're having wrist or finger pain and you like to do things like rock climbing or climbing in general, you may want to assess. You could even go into each finger, to be honest. So I'm here pressing, that feels good. This again feels a little bit difficult. That feels good, that feels good. Okay, then we're going to look at the ability to do this. So I would encourage you to try each finger. So basically I'm trying to press out and I'm resisting myself, and I'm trying to press in and I'm resisting myself. And I'm mentally taking note of which fingers feel weak. Okay. Then we're going to look at pronation, supination of the forearm. So I'm going to slow myself down here, slow myself down here, same here, and feel which of those felt foreign. You could also double check with trying to open a jar, slightly different muscles, and see if you can't open up that joint or open up that jar as easily with your non-dominant hand. That was all of our wrist joint assessments. I would encourage you again to periodically double check back, and we are going to start getting into the different fascial chains in the subsequent videos that impact each of those lines, and so how to strengthen across your body, particularly in the back and shoulders, and how that impacts into the wrist and hand strength. Thanks for watching.